shoot Austinland?
Austinland, I was pregnant, so it was, I know that much. I got a baby out of it, and it was, she was born in Christmas, so it was the summer, 2 summers ago.
Oh, wow. So a while.
Yeah, it was a while, this one, and we kind of didn't know what was going to happen with it. I think there were a few different possibilities, and then last minute it got accepted to Sundance and then got bought right away, which was, I think, kind of surprising for everyone. It was obviously a great thing, but it was really well received at Sundance. It was a fun, kind of bright, poppy something in the midst of all those kind of dark things, so I think it helped it out.
Me and Frank were kind of commenting on how it wasn't as quirky as what the Hesses have done in the past. It's like, it was refreshing.
Yeah, well, they didn't write it, which is the difference. It has a little bit of a different genesis to it than Jerusha and Jared. Stephanie Myers and the woman who wrote the book that was also a Utah gal, and they all knew each other. So it has a very, sweet kind of beginning. Jerusha definitely puts her stamp on it. Let's not fool anyone here, but it's good. Yeah.
Is that what appealed to you as far as when you got the script? As far as how there was a little bit of quirkiness involved with all of the other elements to it?
Yes, Jerusha is definitely what interested me. She called me. And she actually sent me this really funny, sweet email, just about how she thought we would get along, and we would, talk about what detergent we use for our kids' clothes or whatever, and she was right. I love Jerusha, but so she just said, come spend the summer in the English countryside. It'll be fun, and I'm getting all my friends to do it. And she's like, I don't care if you're pregnant. It'll be fine.
So I guess wardrobe actually worked to your benefit then?
Yeah, exactly. All those dresses their waist is here. So even if you're not pregnant, all the girls sort of look a little pregnant. And so it was fine. And I'm a tiny lady, so
You certainly couldn't tell at all.
It was fine. And it was in a way, it was a nice place to be pregnant. We were shooting at this big house, which is that big estate, basically, the yellow one in the back, which is giant land. And in the morning, because there's no time to work out or do anything like that. And so in the morning with my pregnant belly, there was a hill across the street, and I would hike this big misty hill in the morning and go to the top and then walk all the way down and then start work. It was a beautiful place to be.
Had you worked with Jennifer Coolidge before?
I had not.
How was that?
She's so boring. She's so dull, that Jennifer Coolidge. I love her so much, and in fact, I was just doing a movie in New Orleans, and Jennifer has, for a very long time, had a house there, and she kind of every 3 weeks goes and spends time there, and so I saw a lot of her when I was there. She's the best. And by the way, so I know she plays all these crazy characters, but she's so wise and actually interested, super smart and super cool. I love her, and I think she kills it in this movie. She's
hilarious.
Out of control, and really is what kind of ropes this movie in and brings it kind of into current,
Other than the Americans, you got Dawn of the Planet of the Apes
just
coming,
finished
right?
a week ago.
How was that?
This is crazy. Crazy.
What can you tell us?
I can't tell you anything, except I'm not an ape.
Are the apes they're all going to still be CGI, I'm assuming?
I don't know.
You don't have any clue?
No.
idea.
The apes were all men in gray unitards.
Yeah, okay. That's what I figured.
But we were doing something that I don't know that much about the technology. But by the way, Andy Serkis is unbelievable.
Yeah,
He's
I would love to meet Andy.
unbelievable. First of all, before I said yes, the only reason I got to do it was because Matt Reeves was one of the creators of Felicity, and he called me. I had maybe 3 weeks left of The Americans, so tired, been cold, hard winter. All I was thinking was summer off. And I'm going to rent a house in upstate New York, and I'm just going to read books and go swimming and play with my kids. And Matt was like, can you call me? Yeah. And he goes, so I'm doing this crazy big movie. Will you come do it with me? And I was like, oh, Matt, Planet of the Apes. Like, what are you talking about? Do I have to be an ape? And what? He's like, it's going to be really cool. And I was like, oh. So at the time, I was debating whether or not to do it, and if it made the most sense for my family, And I was working with Matthew Reese on The Americans, and I said, I don't know, can I do this? Am I going to be just laughing the whole time, working with grown men in tight unitards, making ape noises? I don't think I can do this. I'm not good enough of an actor. And he said, no, you know what? You'll be fine, because he was Andy Serkis. He said, growing up in the UK, he is such a great. He was one of the most revered actors there, with this whole little group of theater guys out there. And he said, he's so good, you'll be fine. And I said, no, but really, he goes, I promise you, you'll be fine. And first scene, he's so in it and so invested, there is no way you don't meet it. I mean, there's not an option of laughing.
Yeah.
Like, you're just there. He's so good and so cool. And anyway, so, but I guess what they did new on this film is they took all those gigantic 3D motion capture cameras, and we took them all on location with us. So it's not all done in a volume work. We took them into these incredible, hiked into the Vancouver forests and shot these incredible scenes, and it's very epic feeling. And it's although Rise was really great, and I think
intimate. That was kind of the thing that was strange that nobody expected, was how intimate it was going to be.
And I think that's really Andy and his performance that kind of draws you in.
He should have got an Oscar for that.
He's so good, and this is just, it's the intimacy of Andy and really what Matt does so well, which is following a story, but then it's this massive, beautiful, epic, really kind of, it's an epic story about two communities trying to survive, and I think, I don't know, it looks, the one little teaser trailer they showed at Comic-Con looked cool. It looked really cool.
Yeah.
And I got to see for the first time some of the ape face,
right?
How they put it together.
Is it similar to Rise, or is it kind of like they've evolved more?
Way more.
Okay. And I'm assuming they talk a lot.
A little bit. I like
really?
what Matt did. Yeah, I think his take on it was really good, and I think what he said was kind of where this story picks up is, there's been a big virus outbreak, which is sort of touched on.
Like in the credit sequence at Rise, yeah.
And it's basically wiped out civilization. There's a very small group of people left, and they think all the apes are gone. And then there's a very small group of apes left, and they think all the people have been killed.
Oh.
And then somehow they meet, and then it's on. But the shot in the trailer that they sort of teased is pretty incredible, and they don't overly talk. It's nice the way it's done. I hope.
Well, Matt Reeves is such a good director. I mean, I remember when,
so good.
What was it, Rupert Wyatt or whatever, the guy that directed the first one, which first one's really good, when he dropped off because they said they couldn't get it done in time, I was sitting there thinking, if you don't get the right guy, it's not be good.
Yeah.
And Reeves is so good. I mean, Let Me In is like a masterpiece.
Isn't it so good? I was like, Matt, don't do that. Don't remake that movie. It's perfect the way it is. Don't remake that movie.
I actually thought he did a better job.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. And Cody's in this movie too.
Oh, really?
So it's me and Cody and all his peeps that he works with. And, so it's, in a way, it's Matt doing this giant summer movie, but he's doing it his way. Like, there's no way I would ever be in a Fox summer movie.
Right.
I'm not on the list. My boobs aren't big enough.
Well, you're on Mission Impossible. You were great.
But the only reason I'm now because of JJ. It doesn't work like that anymore. There are two people on a list, and that's who greenlights a movie, and that's what it is these days. So it was really cool to be able to.
Well, then maybe because JJ, maybe you'll end up in the next
Star Wars.
Princess Leia buns. Princess Leia buns, here I come. I'm ready.
What's it like working with FX? Because you've done 2 shows with them now, with Americans and Running Wild. Like what?
Oh, Running Wild is FX.
Yeah.
Or was it Fox?
Well,
it was
it
Fox.
switched, yeah.
It was Fox, but because I remember Arnett talking about wanting to switch it to FX when we got canceled.
So in other words, she has no idea. No,
I have no idea who employs me ever. But FX has been great. I just think cable is such an exciting place to work right now. I mean, it's the nature of the movie business. There's just so few movies being made that aren't Superman, for for the 18th time, or some comic book, and that's fine for the 13-year-olds, but I don't want to see that movie. I want to see something else, and there's just not a lot of room for anything else right now. There's not a lot of money, and so all those, like, there'll be a small part in some little tiny independent movie for no money, and they're going to give you peanut butter sandwiches for lunch, and that most famous movie star wants to do it because there's just not a lot of work right now. It's a limited time. But cable, you get sometimes 10 episodes to explore this really interesting, dynamic character and story, and then you're not working for 22 episodes like a network show, so you get to go and have a life, or do another movie or do a play. And I think cable has figured it out. I think, and they don't have the constraints of as much selling soap that the network shows do. So you're allowed to play characters that make bigger mistakes or aren't as great at moms.
Were you shocked by like that opening episode? I mean,
yeah, that
was pretty wild.
Yeah.
We
were shocked. I know. My girlfriend. I just saw Mandy and Scott, who I always see, who are on Felicity with me. Every time I go to LA to do press, they're my first dinner. And she's like, I'm just gonna say it, I can't watch that show because the opening scene of you doing that thing, and I just can't watch that. And I'm like, okay. Was I shocked? Yeah, but you know what? It never feels like it's like she's always doing it to get something, and so it never feels. In a way, it's creepier to do something, one of those sexual scenes when you're trying to make it super romantic and lovey-dovey, because you don't feel that for that person. You're like, ugh, there's all these people around, but in a way, these spy characters are trying to get information or manipulate their mark in some way, so it feels less sexual.
Well, I would be crazy to not ask you about Waitress, because I loved that movie. I mean, that movie is a movie that's, some movies just kind of like,
you guys.
They transcend time in certain people's lives, and that's how it's been for me, because my mother's mother died, right, literally the week before we saw Waitress, and she was so down, and we went and saw it, and I think it was on Mother's Day.
Yes, you're right. No, it did.
And she walked out just in tears, but also so happy, like it made her kind of like think about motherhood all over again and how important, because that's such a big part of my mom's life.
Yeah.
And then as my daughters have grown up, they started to watch Waitress, and they
so
love it to death,
really?
and they watch it over and over again. So I have to ask, what was it like to make that movie? Because it's such a wonderful movie with such an interesting and kind of dark backstory.
I love that little movie. It's so, but see, that's another one. You never know. I mean, I think we shot that movie in something like 20 days.
Right.
So it was such a blip on. We worked really hard during those 20 days, but then I think the press tour was longer than we actually spent shooting.
Right.
And and then everything that came out. I mean, it's such a. The whole story is just so bizarre. Yeah, but it really is a sweet little movie, and Andy Griffith, and
he's so good.
Yeah, he's so shiny in it, and it's a good little movie, and I think about someone surviving and being really.
And the pies.
And the pies.
And you and Nathan Fillion, y'all are so awesome.
So great. He's so charming. My God, so charming.
And that's one of the many times you were pregnant when you weren't pregnant, but then now you were pregnant.
I was actually not pregnant for once in my life, and then I was playing pregnant. I know. Everyone wants me to be pregnant, either for pretend or for real. Yeah, I don't know what about me screams pregnant young mom, but here I am.